I'm Adrian Seet, and you are tuning in to Nightline. News making the headlines. PAC to summon Federal Territories Ministry over failed KL flood mitigation project. And MACC probing claims of graft by former UMNO MPs who joined Bersatu. Thanks for joining us. The 2021 Auditor General AG Report Series 1, released on Wednesday, has revealed that Kuala Lumpur's flood mitigation management plan has failed to achieve its objectives. This was based on the scope and audit samples covering 6 of the 23, or 26.1% of the flood mitigation projects under the Kuala Lumpur City Rainwater Management Drainage System Master Plan and the flash flood hotspots. According to the Auditor General's report, the Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL has not fully implemented the proposed short-term flood mitigation measures for 2018 to 2022 under the master plan, causing the problem of flash floods to remain unresolved. Furthermore, the report said that there were weaknesses in the aspects of program management, including appointment of contractors, contract administration, maintenance work, as well as components and configurations of the flood reservoirs and recreation ponds. To overcome the weaknesses highlighted and to ensure that no recurrence in the future, the Auditor General has proposed that DBKL implements flood mitigation projects in a balanced and consistent manner by taking into account the consultants' proposals and requirements of hotspot projects so that the implementation of flood mitigation programs are more comprehensive and holistic. The Auditor General also proposed that local authorities conduct an outcome evaluation of the mitigation program based on DBKL's standard operating procedures in terms of its effectiveness in dealing with floods. Meanwhile, the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee, PAC, will call the Federal Territories FT Ministry to start proceedings on the 239.33 million ringgit Kuala Lumpur Flood Mitigation Management Plan, which has yet to achieve its objectives. Its chairman, Wong Kah-Waw, said amongst those to be called to give their statements are the Minister and the Secretary-General of the Ministry.
Pagi tadi PAC juga telah bersetuju untuk memulakan prosiding berhubung dengan pengurusan mitigasi banjir Kuala Lumpur bernilai 329.33 juta ringgit dan kita akan memanggil Kementerian Wilayah Persekutuan bagi tujuan tersebut. Manakala prosiding bagi isu-isu lain yang dinyatakan dalam Lakan 2021 Siri 1 akan dimaklumkan kemudian tertakluk kepada perbincangan lanjut daripada ahli-ahli PAC.
Speaking in a media conference at the Parliament building on Wednesday, Wong said that based on the Auditor General's report, the proposed short-term flood mitigation measures for 2018 to 2022, which have not been fully implemented by DBKL, had caused flash flood woes to continue to persist in the city. On another matter, Wong said that the PAC will also table its report on the multi-billion ringgit acquisition of littoral combat ships, LCS, by the Royal Malaysian Navy in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. Meanwhile, the Auditor General's report also said that 9 performance audits worth 10.75 billion ringgit were carried out in 2021, involving programs, activities and projects undertaken by 8 ministries. Overall, the report said the implementation of all the federal government's programs, activities and projects were in accordance with the objectives, but there were some weaknesses, such as output targets and set outcomes that were neither achieved nor can be evaluated.
Kita tak temulah yang besar-besar kali ini, ya. Tapi perkara yang kita buat audit itu adalah penting, ya. Seperti projek pengurusan banjir, mitigasi banjir Kuala Lumpur, ya. Jadi ini juga penting juga, kita adalah penemuan yang kita, secara khususnya kita dapati dari segi pengurusan projek ini, kenapa berlaku banjir berkali-kali.
Following this, the Auditor General has put forward 33 recommendations to be considered for implementation by the audited federal ministries, departments and agencies. The report will also be uploaded on the website of the National Audit Department after being tabled at the Dewan Rakyat and the respective state assemblies. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, is looking into allegations that a minister and two deputy ministers who previously defected from UMNO are involved in the misappropriation of the party's funds. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, confirmed the matter in a brief parliamentary reply dated August the 2nd. According to Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi, the issue was currently being reviewed by the MACC for investigation. However, he added that the MACC could not reveal any further details on the matter. He was responding to a query in Parliament from Bukit Gelugo Member of Parliament Ram Kapal Singh on whether investigation papers have been opened against Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Mas Ermiyati Samsudin, and Deputy Health Minister, Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali. Previously, UMNO President Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi had alleged that the trio misappropriated the party's funds during his Yayasan Akal Budi trial on June 28th. He also told the High Court that the three MPs defected from UMNO to Bersatu to save themselves from being investigated for corruption. Both Datuk Mas Ermiyati and Datuk Sri Mustafa have denied the allegations. A blueprint and committee on the homeless will be established to set the direction of the issue, which has no specific source of authority and legislation for the operations and handling of the group in the country. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the matter was agreed upon at the first meeting of the Special Cabinet Committee for Protecting Vulnerable Groups, which he chaired in Putrajaya on Wednesday. In a statement, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said that the setting up of the committee is aimed at drafting a holistic approach to ensure the welfare and well-being of the vulnerable groups, as well as to protect them from manipulation, neglect, as well as persecution. He added that the committee's members would be extended to related non-governmental organizations or NGOs. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri also pointed out that the committee is a special platform to comprehensively look into issues related to care centres of vulnerable groups in the country, which include care centres for children, people with different abilities, senior citizens, as well as toughest centres. Meanwhile, he said that the Private Aged Healthcare Facilities and Services Act will be enforced in preparation for the projection of Malaysia in achieving the ageing nation status by 2030, as well as supporting the development of the ageing healthcare industry at private care centres. The Prime Minister also said that the definition of vulnerable groups has also been expanded to 12 groups, amongst them the homeless, stateless individuals, refugees, patients with infectious diseases, and destitutes. He also stated that the government has taken a joint approach with various parties to handle the issue of the homeless to assist the group to enjoy a more prosperous life. On Wednesday, Parliament passed the Customs Amendment Bill 2022 to amend the Customs Act 1967. The bill, presented by the second Deputy Finance Minister, Yamani Hafiz Musa, was approved after debate by 5 members of Parliament. He said the main focus of the amendment was to facilitate taxpayers in the event of any public emergency and public health crisis. The proposed Customs Amendment Bill 2022 is intended to improve the country's taxation legislations in line with current business changes. The second Deputy Finance Minister said the major amendment is a result of what was learned following the COVID-19 pandemic, where the implementation of the Movement Control Order, MCO, has limited many business activities and operations. This, he said, has resulted in taxpayers unable to fulfill their obligations under the Act. Meanwhile, Parliament also passed the Excise Amendment Bill 2022, which, amongst other things, aims to determine the form and method of claiming a refund of any overpaid or wrongly paid money and order that money be returned if this can be proven. Yamani Hafiz said the main focus of the amendment is to help taxpayers to fulfill their obligations under the Act. He also said the amendment will centralize references for tax forms, making it easier for industrial sectors. All activities at Pahang's Tasik Chini have been ordered to stop recently, and this includes issuance of new license for mining activities. Energy and Natural Resources Minister Datuk Sri Taqiyuddin Hassan said the move has taken following the report on Tasik Chini Biosphere Reserve site by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO, in line with recommendations by the International Advisory Committee on Biosphere Reserves.
Tidak ada lagi kelulusan baru untuk apa-apa usaha, misalnya untuk mengambil pasir, untuk membangunkan kawasan itu, untuk mengambil mineral-mineral, tidak ada lagi di kawasan Tasik Chini itu. Jadi strict instruction daripada kerajaan supaya tidak ada lagi kelulusan baru untuk mineral dan juga galian-galian yang ada di sekitar Tasik Chini itu.
He said this after launching the sports tournament at Sekolah Kebangsaan Islam in Kota Baru on Wednesday. He said that both the federal and Pahang governments have already taken measures to protect Tasik Chini. Datuk Sri Taqiyuddin also said that he will table this issue and measures that will be taken by the government during the parliament sitting on Thursday. He said the government was given a deadline by UNESCO to rehabilitate the lake. The government is confident that Kumpulan Wang Persaraan Diperbadankan or KWAP could achieve a gross fund size of 200 billion ringgit by 2025. Under its 3-year Teras Lima program, KWAP also aims to increase the number of property assets to more than 30 from the current 17 and more than 35 subsidiaries.
Lain daripada menguruskan dana persaraan, Kuat turut dilantik oleh kerajaan sebagai ejen untuk melaksanakan perkhidmatan pembayaran persaraan yang disebut tadi sejak tahun 2015 dan telah mencapai skor tahap perkhidmatan sebanyak 98% pada tahun lepas.
KWAP has achieved a record fund size of about 159 billion ringgit as at the end of 2021. A threefold increase from 41.9 billion ringgit when it was established in 2007. Teras Lima is a part of a long-term policy plan to support KWAP's sustainable growth to benefit pensioners. Media Prima Berhad MPB hosted a visit for the delegates from the Embassy of China, led by the Chinese ambassador to Malaysia, Aoyang Yujing, at Sri Pentas in Petaling Jaya on Wednesday. Now, during the visit, both sides discussed projects that could strengthen the relationship through the mainstream media and shared ideas on collaborative programs for the future.
Our media primas leave a very impressive impressions for us because actually Media Primas is a leading integrated media group in Malaysia. I think we have a very good opportunities to cooperate in the future because actually integrated medium include different kind of the arts.
Aoyang added that the relationship was also built on a strong foundation in line with the 48th anniversary of Malaysia-China ties this year. Other members of the delegation included its councillor, Zheng Xin, and First Secretary, Tang Tang. During the visit, the delegation was also taken on a tour of the broadcast facilities at Sri Pentas, including the news studio and Radio Conti, accompanied by MPB Group Chairman Dato Sri Dr. Syed Hussein Al-Junid. Also present were Media Prima Omnia Chief Executive Officer Dato Michael Chan, Media Prima Television Network's Group Editor for News and Current Affairs, Kamaruddin Mape, and Rev Media Group Chief Executive Officer Samuel Wee. More local updates later in the bulletin, but first, Tory leadership vote delayed over security fears. Don't go away. China has launched a volley of trade curbs against Taiwan, in addition to live-fire military drills following the visit of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to the island. Beijing has warned of punishing those who offended, while Chinese state media called the speaker's trip an opening salvo of war. Following the visit, China on Wednesday announced that it will hold almost a week of military exercises that includes live fire drills in 6 zones surrounding Taiwan. Beijing has also suspended the exports of natural sand to Taiwan and halted imports of fruit and fish products from the self-governed island. China has also summoned the American envoy in Beijing to lodge a stern protest and warned that Washington will pay a price for its mistakes. Taiwan, in the meantime, countered that the island of 23 million would not be cowed and continue to hold the line of defense for democracy. China considers Taiwan its territory and tries to keep it isolated internationally, opposing countries from maintaining official contact with a self-ruled democratic island.
As I said, but in doing so, we want to increase.
The delivery of ballot papers for the Conservative leadership election has been delayed in being sent out following security concerns. The government communications headquarters, known as GCHQ, warned of a security risk in which hackers could change Conservative members' ballots. It was initially planned that the voting process would have allowed members to choose whether to vote by post or online, with codes to be deactivated once the vote has been received, for the latter option to reduce the risk of fraud. However, the GCHQ warned that the unusual voting system in which votes could later be changed clearly created a vulnerability which a foreign state could try to exploit. Therefore, the Conservative Party has decided to make changes to enhance security around the ballot process, and members have been informed that the ballot papers could arrive as late as August 11th. The announcement of the leadership vote, which is due to take place on September the 5th, is expected to remain the same despite the delay. Sri Lanka is currently facing a great danger as fuel shortages sparked by its unprecedented economic crisis is set to continue at least until the year's end. President Ranil Wickremesinghe on Wednesday stated that the financial meltdown had turned into a serious political crisis, while calling on lawmakers to form an all-party government to resolve a crippling economic crisis. In a speech in Parliament, the 73-year-old said discussions with the International Monetary Fund (IMF) for a 4-year program that could provide up to $3 billion would resume in August. Wickremesinghe also said that constitutional amendments were required to curtail presidential powers, indicating that he would meet a key demand of protesters who forced out his predecessor, Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Sri Lanka was considered a prosperous middle-income country before defaulting for the first time on its foreign debt of $51 billion in mid-April. The country has run out of foreign exchange to finance imports, with officials estimating the country urgently needs at least $4 billion to bring in essential goods and address current shortages. Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. National weightlifter Muhammad Hafiz Shamsuddin failed to deliver a medal for the Malaysian contingent as he finished in 10th place in Wednesday's final round. Making his debut at the 2022 Commonwealth Games, 23-year-old Hafiz also failed to record any attempt in the clean and jerk category. Following this, his participation in the category was cancelled for not complying with the rules of the competition when carrying out the lifting. Hafiz lifted 148 kilograms in the snatch category. Cameroonian junior Pedisklek Ngadja Nyabeyu won gold after lifting a total of 361 kilograms, while Samoan Jack Hitila Opeloge and Lavpreet Singh from India took silver and bronze, respectively.
The next day, the same weights can feel impossible.
Meanwhile, Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob expressed his hope that the national badminton squad's success in winning the gold medal in the mixed team event could inspire the entire Malaysian contingent to continue chasing glory at the Games. The Prime Minister, in his Facebook post, said the success had placed Malaysian on the right track to achieve the 6-goal target in Birmingham. He also congratulated the badminton squad for keeping the Malaysia flag flying high in the world. The national shuttlers emerged victorious after defeating defending champions India 3-1 in the final, and thus avenging their 1-3 loss to the same opponents at the 2018 edition in Gold Coast, Australia. National men's doubles pair Aaron Chia So Wee Yik put Malaysia ahead with a priceless first point against Satwik Sairaj Ranki Reddy Chirag Shetty after an exquisite performance for a 21-18, 21-15 victory. Goh Jin Wei was then up next against the informed PV Sindhu. Goh put up a strong fight despite losing 20-22, 17-21. India were expected to take the lead through S. Kidambi in the falling men's singles match, but Ng Ziyong pulled off one of his greatest wins as he clinched a 21-19, 6-21, 21-16 victory. Needing just 1 point to close out the final, national women's doubles Pearly Tan M. Thinaa clinched a hard-fought 21-18, 21-17 victory over Thrisa Jolly Gayatri Gopichan Pulela to seal a memorable 3-1 win. The success in Birmingham was Malaysia's 4th gold medal in the Commonwealth Games mixed team event after winning it from 2006 to 2014. Teenage judo exponent Amir Daniel Abdul Majid also deserves praise for contributing a bronze medal. The SEA Games bronze medalist bagged the medal in the 73 kilograms category after his opponent from Cyprus, Dato Matsu Katov, was disqualified at the Coventry Arena. Malaysia has never won any judo medal in Commonwealth Games history. Amir's success brought Malaysia's medal haul at the Games to 7. 2 golds, 2 silvers and 3 bronze. Coming up after the break, smuggled cigarettes worth 9.45 million ringgit seized. Stay tuned. A warehouse in Kulai on July 23rd and seized smuggled cigarettes worth a whopping 9.45 million ringgit, including unpaid tax. It was the biggest seizure made by the Johor Customs Department so far this year. State Customs Director Sazali Mohamad said the raid carried out by the Johor Bahru Enforcement Unit found 8 million sticks of contraband cigarettes, comprising regular white sticks and clove cigarettes hidden in boxes that were covered with canvas. It was believed that the cigarettes were smuggled in from Indonesia via the sea route. However, no arrest was made during the raid as no one was present at the scene.
Jadi modus operandi yang digunakan untuk kes ini adalah penyelundupan dengan menyembunyikan rokok seludup di dalam gudang sebelum diedarkan untuk pasaran tempatan. Rokok putih dan kretek yang tidak berkastam tersebut dipercayai dibawa masuk dari luar negara secara tidak sah.
The case is being investigated under the Customs Act. The offence provides a fine not less than 20 times the value of items of 500,000 ringgit, whichever is higher, or a maximum 5 years imprisonment, or both if convicted. In Sabah, a 37-year-old local man was arrested while he was processing and packaging what was believed to be drugs when enforcement officials stormed into his house. Customs Director General Dato' Zazuli Johan said the suspect was nabbed at the scene following the raid at noon in Kota Kinabalu on July 28th. After 2 months of surveillance, the joint raid with the police led to the discovery of over 52 kilograms of methamphetamine worth more than 1.8 million ringgit. Dato' Zazuli said the suspect's modus operandi was to turn the house into a drug processing facility where the drugs were packed in plastic tea bags and vacuum-sealed bags with a certain amount of weight. He said authorities also found more of the drugs hidden in electrical appliances and boxes. Police are investigating the case under the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at the performance of Leonid Jakobsen's ballet masterpieces called Forever Timeless. Now, the unique show is a production of the St. Petersburg State Academic Leonid Jakobsen Ballet Theatre, which takes place at the Bolshoi Theatre in Moscow, Russia, from the 2nd to the 7th of August. With that, I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for your company and stay safe, Malaysia.